And we are back once again with another great episode of Liam Picks Fights. I'm very happy today to be joined by a returning friend of the show. Notorious underscore Picks is making his return. He was on the show long ago, and we're very excited to have him back. Notorious, how you doing this evening?
Yo, what's up, Liam? Super excited to be on the show. Thanks for inviting me. I mean, it's the last event of the year. I'm stoked. I think we have some great fights on Saturday, and yeah, I'm excited to break them down.
Absolutely, my man. Me as well. We've got a big time heavyweight main event closing out the year for the UFC. And, I feel like everybody is still, hung up on the exhilaration of last week's pay per view card. And so now we get this 14 fight offering, pretty decent number of fights here. A lot of them fairly competitive, not the most closely lined fights, but it's also not that many wide favorites like minus 500 and this kind of stuff. A lot of like mid-range type fights where there's a pretty clear favorite, but that means that you get a pretty decent comeback on the underdog. So I think that there's some decent underdog opportunities on the card. I think that there's also a lot of favorites that are probably going to roll here. So should be a good diverse slate. I think that we've got a bunch of women's fights. We got fights all over the weight classes. Like I really think they did a good job mixing up the offering for the last card of the year. And I think that it would do us justice to start in the main event where we've got, my personal heavyweight money train, Kyle Daukaus taking on the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, who's like the public's, biggest boondoggle for heavyweight betting. Like this guy has come through as a plus 350, plus 400. Like he's come through in big underdog spots before. And it's not like Derek Lewis doesn't have skills. I think sometimes he gets a rep for just being like a power based fighter, and that's a lot of his game. But he also is kind of weirdly athletic for a heavyweight. There's not a lot of heavyweights that throw like jumping switch kicks to the head and the body. He can kind of mix it up. His timing on the uppercut, in particular, pretty impeccable. He stopped Curtis dead in his tracks because he read the situation really well. He kind of predicted what was going to happen. He's got good anticipation on his counterpunching. So I think for all those reasons, that's why Derek Lewis is like a live, scary counterpuncher throughout a fight. Is he carries his power well, and he's a pretty freaking heavy set dude for the division. So heavy set dude who can move explosively. Again, he gets knocks for his cardio, which I think some of those are fair, but it's by heavyweight standards. There's not a ton of heavyweights that really have 25 minutes worth of cardio. And certainly the ones that do are in the top 5 of the division, so those would be the kind of guys that Derek is running into in some of these fights. And he's outlasted guys that he shouldn't have, like Volkov. And then he's also, sputtered out and not really performed at all against the likes of Cyril Gane, where, he's admitted, I didn't really get going. I didn't really feel myself. I couldn't throw anything. I was hesitant. I had a game plan. I didn't do one part of it. Like I felt like there's these different sides to Derek Lewis. So how do you go about handicapping a matchup like this, Notorious? Is this one that you feel like you have interest in this week, or are you looking to pass on the main event and enjoy what should be a slobber knocker?
As of right now, I have no place for the fight, but there are a couple ideas that I have. As you were saying about Derek Lewis, I think one of the most underrated things about the guy is his fight IQ. Honestly, I think he knows that he can't be a high volume type of a striker, right? He doesn't have the best cardio, so he kind of lures people into like this, the false sense of security, right? Where they think they can just kind of pick him apart, and he doesn't look like he is going to do anything. He looks hurt sometimes. He pretends to get hurt. Then he swings that bomb at you, those kind of things. So I think Chris Daukaus has to be very, very careful with how he approaches this fight. I think if he moves around really well, uses his speed advantage, and kind of just like picks him apart, at least in the beginning, just to get his timing going. I think a lot of advantages are on his side in terms of the volume, the speed, things of that nature. But at the same time, we haven't really seen the guy past 7-minute mark in the UFC. 3 of his fights were ended in the first round, and then the last one was in the second. But he pretty much killed Shamil in the first, right?
That was bullshit, man. I had him by KO round 1. If I didn't have the insurance on round 1 and 2, I would have gone ballistic, dude. I was like, guys, what do we need to see here? Shamil is like snoring in the corner, like,
Right.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, the ref definitely didn't do the best job there. He let the guy die twice pretty much in the same fight. But yeah, I mean, I think that the play that I'm kind of interested in is over 1.5. Because I think that Chris Daukaus, it would be smart for him to not, engage super heavy right away. I think it would be smart for him to just kind of see, to gauge the speed of Black Beast, see what's going to come back his way. It's probably going to be the right hand, right? But, just to see how that's going to go. And we've seen in the past that, Derek Lewis, he can go to 3rd and 4th rounds. He can win in those rounds. He's beat Shamil in the 4th round, and he was losing that fight. He beat Volkov in the 3rd round. He was losing that fight too. So I think over 1.5 is interesting. What is it? Minus 110 or 120, something like that. I might play that. Right now, I'm just kind of chilling and sitting back, waiting for the weigh-ins and just getting all my data ready. But if I were to play something, I would take a shot on that.
I understand where you're coming from with that one. For me, I'm not going to touch the totals on this unless I'm doing an alternate total and I'm going under. And the reason I say that is because I do have a very strong suspicion that somebody is going to be snoring in the 2nd round in this fight. Okay. And so I think that you could still hit your over here, but I think it might be just a tiny bit sweaty. When you got somebody like Chris Daukaus, like the thing that I love about him and the thing that was making me bet, with a pretty strong degree of confidence in his last couple of matchups is that his hand speed is tremendous for the heavyweight division. And so I know he's going to close range. He's going to put hands on somebody. And I felt like Chris, his durability isn't like next level. He's been finished in regional MMA before. I think his cardio is probably not like world class, but it's also a question mark to me because he's changed his body completely. Like when you look at how he used to look on regional footage, he looks like, a guy who's a part-time fighter. He looks like a guy who's a cop. Now he looks more and more like a professional athlete each time that we see him step in the octagon. He trains in the right place to get better. And Derek Lewis, I looked into the camp he trains at. It is built around him largely, which I like. But I think, there's some question marks about, how much is Derek improving fight over fight? I don't know that I see a tremendous growth there. I see some improvements in the grappling realm over time. But, he's kind of like a negation grappler. He doesn't do anything proactively when he grapples. He just tries to stop things from happening. And so I think that could be a problem here. I think if Daukaus decides to bail himself out with some grappling, that could be a potential path. Derek doesn't really have great takedown defense, and it's normally in fights where he is like only focused on defending takedowns that his takedown defense looks lights out. When you get him engaged in a striking fight and then try and shoot a takedown, I think you'll have a lot greater success. And I think that, Ciryl Gane did lay out a pretty simple blueprint for how you beat this guy. Which is you don't rush in after you hurt him. You touch him. And when he's starting to react, you kick the legs. When he's starting to react, you touch his body. I think all those things would be wise moves here. But he also just strikes me as the kind of guy who's given Derek problems in the past. Matt Mitrione, very fast moving heavyweight who can crack with the hands. Got in on Derek, no problem. Granted, it's a long time ago, but was able to touch him up fast. Then you look Sean Jordan, another pretty fast athletic heavyweight who could match him in the speed dynamic because Derek is normally like the faster guy on the counter. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case here. But for me, it's just such a volatile fight. I don't know how to invest my money except in thinking that it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be violent. I think it would be very surprising to me if this fight hit the 4th round. Just because of the firepower you've got on both sides. And I do think that for all of the good things about Derek, he's kind of got a self-preservationist streak to him. I think he's only been like knocked down twice maybe or 3 times or something, in his recent UFC run, but he's been TKO'd like 6 times. Like if you start hitting and hurting Derek, he'll just find a way out sometimes. And like, I thought the Gane fight was a recent example of that. I thought the Mark Hunt fight was an example of that too. He was just tired. I don't even know. I don't know how badly he was getting hurt there. He was getting touched, sure, but the JDS fight also, it's just like he's the last guy to make JDS look good. JDS put on a pretty simple outboxing leg kick performance there, and it was just his decision to continuously touch the body that really bothered Derek and got him out of that fight. I think Chris would be wise to invest there in this fight. But if he's doing that, he's got a little bit of a height and reach disadvantage here. It's going to put him in range for that bus driver uppercut. And that for me is enough reason to just say, I don't want to invest in my boy this time. Playing chalk against Derek Lewis is a scary proposition when you've got somebody who's got, control potential like Curtis Blades. Now you got somebody who's going to be obliging him at space for the vast majority of the time. I think Derek actually thrives against wrestlers, so this is like a tricky fight for him too. But I see this as like a 50-50-ish fight. For the striking portions, I would favor Daukaus if they end up grappling. But I also think you just got to say on the basis of proven cardio alone, you gotta just show some respect towards the Derek Lewis side here. And the Daukaus, you want to think that he can go 5 rounds. He looks so much better. He's lost 25 pounds. Looks like he's lost a lot of body fat percentage, but it's still an assumption at the end of the day. And when he's out there fighting, he's throwing at a ridiculous pace. He's throwing more shots than any heavyweight in the UFC. So that does seem unsustainable. And if he can't get Derek Lewis out of there, and he's going to be at a 25 or so pound weight disadvantage, that could lead to problems later in the fight. So I think it's a fascinating matchup. Not often you'll hear me say that about a heavyweight clash, but I really think that this is an interesting style dynamic as well as everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you were talking about Cyril Gane, laying the blueprint, we got to remember that Cyril Gane is like a one-of-a-kind heavyweight, right? The guy,
true.
He really is a new breed, in terms of his movement, in terms of his distance management, and really he was either all the way out on the kicking range, or all the way in the clinch. So he never really stood in the boxing range with Derek Lewis. And that's where Derek Lewis has pretty much his only shot is in the boxing range. And I think Chris Daukaus, I think he is more of a boxer. So if he gets stuck in more of a boxing range, that could be an issue. So that's my concern there. Plus the cardio question mark, right? We don't know. We truly don't know how he's going to look if it goes past the second round. So those two things kind of, make me stay away from betting Chris Daukaus because the metrics, the analytics, they all going to be on his side. Obviously he's got way better strike differential and all those kind of things. But Derek Lewis is one guy that says analytics don't fucking matter. I can just nuke you no matter when, and so. Yeah, for now, it's going to be a pass for me.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind, man, and we can leave this matchup on this, but if you look at Cyril Gane, what he brings to the table is a diverse attack. So he, like you mentioned, he's all the way in, he's all the way out. He has really good tools at kicking range. He can teep to the body. He can throw the round kick to the body, and he can throw a variety of inside, outside, and linear low kicks that really just cause problems for people. I think when you look at, I think Chris Daukaus, like 4.9% of his strikes thrown are leg kicks. That's very low, and it's like the same percentage for Derek. So if you're not going to take out one of Derek's wheels, he's going to remain explosive for longer. I think that Gane did a good job of just making it so Derek couldn't move around as effectively, couldn't spring in and out of range, because that's where Derek's dangerous. Even in the JDS fight, when he's on the brink of being finished, he almost finished JDS with that overhand right because JDS was like, I got him. He was folded over at the waist. I think to your point from before, there is not one person in the UFC today who is better at faking being hurt than Derek Lewis. And he doesn't do it like I want Kutalaba and get the fight called off by the referee. Yeah. He finds a way to stay in the fight, but give enough bad body language that somebody gets confused and runs in. It's a mental game. Yep. If you get somebody to think, oh, I'm done, you can catch them sleeping. And I'm afraid for Chris Daukaus, who's a little bit inexperienced in the spot, that he might hurt Derek and Greg Hardy himself. So, I'm rooting for my boy here. I'm going to pick Chris outright. I'm going to hope that he fights a smart game plan and comes through, I'm not going to be lining up against these Martinez, BJJ guys anytime soon. I think that they're fantastic as well. I think it's a really solid camp. But I also just got to say, I had learned my lesson the hard way before lining up at Shock against Derek Lewis. And so this is a fight doesn't go the distance, totals. I think if you're backing either one of these guys, playing them inside the distance probably is just a smarter play here than the money lines. You got something there?
Yeah, I have one last thing to say. I think there's potentially an opportunity to enter this after round one. I'm pretty confident that Chris is going to win round one. And if you get like plus 300 or something higher than that on Derek Lewis after round one, if he's not like really compromised, that could be an interesting spot to enter. So just watch out for that opportunity, guys, live. So that's
I couldn't agree more. Now, moving along on this card, man, we've got a lot of great fights to choose from. I'd say the next fight that we should at least touch on. This is one that I haven't gotten heavily invested in from a betting perspective, but I have noticed that the market is starting to move a little bit on this fight. You were seeing a lot of public love, a lot of people that do what I do and that do what we're doing now, talking about the fights publicly. A lot of love for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. But then you look at those betting markets and you see what's happening with the odds, and you've seen a lot of line movement come the way of Bilal. Remember the name Muhammad. So I think this is an interesting welterweight clash. I'm kind of curious to see where this line's going to end up at.
Yeah.
Public perception has been hit and miss on Wonderboy Thompson. He goes in like these wild swings of like, nobody could beat Wonderboy. This guy's the best. To this guy, he stinks and he's getting old, and Anthony Pettis got him. So who couldn't knock this guy out? It's like I don't know about all that either. I do think that this is a tricky fight, though. I don't think it's a runaway matchup for Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but I do think he's got the finishing equity in this fight. More so than Bilal Muhammad. So that's what makes it an interesting spot. That's why I think, I'd ultimately have to favor Wonderboy here. But I don't know if I favor him to such an extent as the current money line price. It's like minus 225, minus 250. And, I think on some of the sharper books you're seeing now, minus 210. And I think that that's no surprise. I'm not involved on the Bilal Muhammad side, but I could see why people think he could eke out a decision in this fight based on the game plan that was laid out from Gilbert Burns. Not to say that Bilal has the same, grappling pedigree. Obviously he doesn't. But does he have a similar kind of tenacity to pursue takedowns? I think he does. And I don't know that every Wonderboy opponent has had that. Even some of the guys that have had success, like Anthony Pettis, did not at all use that as part of their strategy. So I'm curious to see how Wonderboy answers now that he kind of got a little bit exposed in the inability to separate from grappling situations. That's really what he needed to work on, in my opinion, because he's got to get in and out of the clinch faster in order to do the work that he needs to win the round. So Notorious, I'm interested to hear what you think about this matchup. I think it should be fun enough matchup. I think both guys have a lot on the line here. So I think you're going to see, pretty thoughtful game planning from both.
Yeah, when you were talking about finishing equity for Wonderboy, man, it just keeps giving me PTSD because I keep betting Wonderboy by KO, and the dude just gets close but doesn't get me those KOs, man. Whether it's Vicente Luque or Jeff Neal, I thought that, he could have finished Jeff Neal, but it looks like the guy's just too nice. He doesn't want to finish anymore. He kind of, maybe because he's getting older, he lost his finishing instinct, because when he first came in the UFC, he was getting finishes. He finished Bobby Whitaker, he finished him. He finished, what's his name? Jake Ellenberger, Johnny Hendricks. I mean, he had, a bunch of really good finishes. And recently he just doesn't pull the trigger like he used to. But in this matchup, I think the key to the last one was that Gilbert Burns is super dangerous, whether it's striking or grappling. So the more dangerous the guy is, the more hesitant Steven is. And you could see that with Tyron Woodley fights, he just wouldn't really pull the trigger. And then that was kind of similar to the Gilbert Burns fight. And Gilbert Burns was super smart in terms of either being all the way out or all the way in, And one time when he wasn't as careful, he got cracked, and I think it was second or third round. And there was a possibility for a finish there. Wonder Boy, he didn't. And then Gilbert was able to get him to the cage and get a takedown and win. I'm not so sure that Bilal Muhammad possesses the danger factor. I don't. The guy doesn't really have that. He's good at winning fights. He's good at getting decisions, but I think that Wonder Boy is not going to be as scared in this fight. Bilal does have some tools to win this fight, obviously with his grappling, with his tenacity, but I don't think his striking is going to really, make Wonder Boy too hesitant. So I think Wonder Boy, he's probably going to get a KO here because I won't bet it. That's how it's going to go, because I'm done betting Wonder Boy KOs, man. So, I do lean Wonder Boy. I'm not really too interested in playing minus 210 or any of those numbers, but I might get involved with inside the distance or something. I probably shouldn't, but I'm a degenerate, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, my thoughts are Wonder Boy probably gonna win, and I just don't see. I think Bilal Muhammad is a certain level. I don't think he's a top 5 level. I don't think he's ever gonna be top 5 level, and those are the type of guys that give Wonder Boy problems, and he's just not it. So,
here's my only concern, right? When I look at this guy, I'm just afraid that he has a style that can age out overnight, if you know what I'm saying. And a lot of what he does is like inviting danger. He does invite a little bit of danger in order to get his game going. And I think part of what's changed, to echo your point, when you look at his old footage, what's he doing to knock people out? He's head kicking them. Almost all of them, right? He's like spinning and he's head kicking. It's a very dynamic movement. And it's not to say he doesn't do any of that anymore. He does a little bit of it, but he's turned into more of a puncher. And so I think he's a good puncher and a solid puncher. I just don't know that he's as comfortable finishing with his punches. And a lot of his punches are like kind of like the, straight on line punches where he will like knock somebody backwards, but he's not like rooted to the floor as much as a traditional boxer would be. He's kind of like upright and punching downwards towards his opponents. He's a little bit taller than most guys he fights as well. So I think that for those reasons, he hasn't been knocking as many people out. I also think when you're worried about getting taken down, you're a little bit less willing to spin, a little bit less willing to kick as well. And I am curious to see it, though, because I think Bilal sometimes, in order to force his fight, becomes very hittable, like walking into the pocket. And we have seen that cost him in the past, and we've also seen Bilal spend a lot of durability, in my opinion, because he was making up some skill gaps in these fights by just being tough and being consistent. I think he's a very high-level competitor, and that's why I'm not like rushing ever to bet against him. I think Bilal's a pretty talented guy. I bet on him against Diego Lima and some of these guys. But again, like you mentioned, levels. And I think that there's a level that Bilal dominates. And I also just think that there's a level where he's going to struggle based on athleticism, most times. But if anybody can grind out an ugly decision, it is Bilal Muhammad. Like, he has proven that. And sometimes it's hard to bet on somebody when you're putting them in against a striker and you're worried that they're going to like lose sight of the game plan and be like, all right, let's survive for 15 minutes now. Let's just make it through to the end. Bilal has never struck me as that guy. Like, the guy is willing to go out on his shield trying. And that is admirable, but I do think that that's the reason why this fight could turn into a little bit different of a situation where Bilal is pursuing recklessly to try and get a win in short time towards the end, and Wonder Boy's just picking him off with straight line shots. So I could see a late finish for Wonder Boy or a decision, but like you mentioned, man, not really interested at the price. And I got to just mention, though, the price market wide is crashing on Bilal Muhammad. If you want to get in on him, I'd recommend either play that decision prop or get in on the money line now, plus 188, best available across the market. And, that was above plus 200, I think, as recently as this morning. So a lot of late action coming in the way of Bilal. Yeah. Remember the name Muhammad.
I think if I was betting Bilal's side, I would hope that he would be more like physical and explosive, to get those takedowns. I think that the physicality of Gilbert Burns got him a few of those takedowns. Plus, you know, he's a world-class jiu-jitsu guy, and like if he's on top of you, good luck getting up. And I think Wonderboy actually did get up in the first round, so it's not like Wonderboy, you get him down and he's just Curtis Millender on the bottom, you know. He's not that kind of level. And below Muhammad, I think he hits like 20% takedowns, so it's not like he's a great takedown artist. Even Curtis Millender stuffs 4 out of 6 takedowns. So I don't know, man. It might just be tougher to get Wonderboy down than what happened in the last fight. I think maybe the recency bias is too much, but at the same time, he is minus 200, so it's not like he is at pick'em. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's pick Wonderboy, but no bet for now.
And, you know, that for me is the biggest difference with this fight and some recent Wonderboy fights. Like, I bet Wonderboy. It was one of my biggest bets, you know, that I've had on my tracked record for a money line bet, 4 units on Wonderboy at plus 100. And I just thought that was like easy money versus Jeff Neal. And I also think I put, you know, maybe a half unit shot on the KO there. Woodley. So, yeah, he definitely could have had that one. And he pitched a shutout there. I feel like he kind of exposed that Jeff Neal is a headhunter. And so if you headhunt Wonderboy, it's going to be a disaster. But to just finish off here on that last point you made, I think that is actually where Bilal succeeds, right? It's like he is not the most efficient wrestler. He's just the most committed wrestler. He's going to fire off 15 attempts for takedowns, whereas most guys are going to fire off 2 or 3 or 4, and it's essential that they get them because if they don't, they're out of energy. Bilal is just an energizer bunny, and that's what he uses against people. He's like, all right, I don't have the striking, I don't have the grappling, I don't have the this, so I'll just be here trying to do it all night. And Wonderboy, because he's a little bit older, he has been able to stand up to that in the past. The question is for how long, and he says he wants to keep fighting forever. God bless him. You know, I feel like as long as he is able to move, stay on the outside, whatever, gets the right matchmaking, maybe he could make a couple more runs of it, you know, with some of these fun fights. But I do think that, you know, in this kind of cutthroat division, you know, it's probably a little too late for title aspirations, I would think, for Wonderboy. So, yeah, I am excited to see this one, though, because Bilal, he's kind of gotten the short end of a lot of sticks in his career. This is his, like, you know, big shining opportunity, and I think he deserves at least one of them. But if it goes the way some of his other step-ups have gone, it will be back to the prelims and working our way back up after this Saturday night. Yeah. It seems like the people's main event of the week is Amanda Lemos and Angela Hill.
I'm excited about this one.
Dude, I am myself. And, you know, I got some closing line value as of now. You know, I locked in a play on Angela Hill at plus 310, but I got to be honest, man, the more I look into the fight, the more concerns I have for Angie. And so I'll say this. I think that Amanda Lemos on the money line is virtually unplayable, you know, because she's at 75+% indication here. If you look comparatively, this is like one of her steepest betting lines against one of her stiffest opponents in terms of level of competition. So that doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense. However, I think that Amanda Lemos, you know, when I watched back the footage of her older fights, you know, the fight in particular, her UFC debut, she gets stopped. Who is that? Leslie Smith, I think it was. And she fucked up Leslie Smith a little bit in the first round. She had like done some good damage, but Leslie Smith committed to just staying in her face, eating whatever it took to get, you know, the win. And she just gassed her completely and found out she had nothing left. She was able to work on her in the clinch. And so I think that that's a lot of the predicate for Angela Hill having success here is she survives what's, you know, on most accounts going to be a very tough first round, you would have to think, because this Lemos just doesn't hit like a normal, you know, women's strawweight. She hits much harder. When you listen to the audible sounds of most women's strawweights hitting each other, it doesn't sound like they're hitting each other with bricks or bats. And that's what it sounds like when Amanda Lemos is throwing, at least for those first few minutes. That being said, even in the Mizuki Inoue fight, she starts to slow down a little bit, but I do think her cardio has changed down at 115. You know, I think that it was like a death gas situation for her trying to deal with somebody bigger, more physical. Plus, she's already carrying around a little body fat at that time. I think now she's made like holistic lifestyle changes. She's probably on a bunch of designer steroids, and I wish her the very best with all that. I think Lemos hits like a man, is what Daz is saying in the chat. And, I think that that's a pretty fair way to put it, honestly. Like, she does do a tremendous amount of damage. What I also saw that was pretty impressive, she put in, what looked to be like a 3/4 locked rear naked choke over the chin, and choked a girl completely unconscious, like bad. And I was like, that was only like 5 seconds that she had her in that hold, and it wasn't perfectly applied, and she choked her completely to sleep. Angela Hill is a liability on the ground, and she always has been, as far as I'm concerned. Randa Marcos, like her last time looking stellar in the UFC, is like an insta submission of Angela Hill in like 2019. So I do think Angela Hill is like continuing to make gradual improvements, but she tweeted something like, I want to say last week, that stood out to me. It was like, when I was 24, I was like an art school kid deciding I should try Muay Thai. I was like, Amanda Lemos is not that. That I can tell you, she is certainly not that. She is a fighter through and through. And she strikes me as the kind of person that's going to put doubt in Angela Hill's mind early. I think she's going to hit her really hard and crack her. I think that Angela's going to try and close distance and get a hold of her. I think Angela likes to be in close for the clinch. And I made this point when I bet Ashley Yoder against Angela Hill. Angela Hill doesn't always need to be taken down. She'll take herself down. She'll start throwing reckless knees, get up on her toes, and then fall. And I think that Amanda Lemos, she has good presence in the grappling. It's not like she's a proactive grappler all the time, but when people try and bum rush her into the clinch, I've seen her more than once hip throw somebody. I've seen her hit like a pretty opportunistic trip or two, and not, the world's most clever wrestling, just good counter wrestling, pretty reactive. And then when she's on top, I've seen her do some decent damage. And I've also just seen her force somebody to turn over and get that choke locked in. I could see either one of those scenarios taking place here against Angela Hill. So right now, what I have on this fight is Angela Hill money line at plus 310. And then I have Amanda Lemos to win by submission at plus 1100. And I have fight ends by sub at plus 950. The reason that I have the sub play as well, it's a small possibility, but if Angela Hill survives round 1, if she survives round 2 and she's still in the fight doing damage of her own, if she hasn't been like compromised by what's gone on in the first 7.5, 8.5 minutes, I do think Angela Hill becomes alive because she does keep a decent amount of volume. I've heard people shit on Angela Hill's cardio this week. And I just don't think that's fully fair. Her cardio has failed her a little bit over 5-round contests, where she couldn't keep up what I think is a pretty admirable pace that she normally keeps. She could not keep that up over 5 rounds. So, okay, fair point. 3-round fight in this one against somebody who is probably going to have a much tougher weight cut and who's shown to have some cardio liabilities in the past, both at the weight class, and at higher weight classes. So I think that Lemos, if she pours out the jug early, is live to get finished here. And so that for me is a sneaky way to target this fight. Everybody that I've heard talk about it is on Angela Hill by decision if they're on the Angela Hill side. But I do think that, Angie has a sneaky possibility to finish this fight if she can survive. I just think that that's going to be a tough uphill battle against somebody that, while she's fresh, should have the advantage both standing and on the ground.
Yeah. So pre-tape, I was thinking immediately to bet Lemos by submission because I did so in the last fight. And the reason why I did so in the last fight, because she fought a girl that likes to go for head and arms, and she could easily get the back and submit her. Well, she obviously killed her in the first 30 seconds, and that was it. But I did also have inside the distance, so it actually canceled it out. But in this fight, as the more I looked into it, the more I like Angela Hill's side, actually. And the reason being is that the way you beat Amanda Lemos is you are going to take a beating in the first round, most likely. But you have to keep pressing keep going forward, pretty much what Leslie Smith did, right? And you could say, well, that was 2 weight classes above, and yeah, that's all fair. But Mizuki was also doing a similar approach. She just wasn't really landing much of offense when she was getting close. She was just clinching, right? And she was, I mean, landing something, but not like Leslie Smith. Leslie Smith was fucking her up, and she quit in the second round. She just like, no more of this. And I think that Angela Hill most likely is going to lose the first round, but she's never been knocked out. She fought Andrade, man. That was a war. And she dropped Andrade. I mean, this girl, she can bring a dog fight. And I don't think that Amanda Lemos is going to like a dog fight. I really don't. I think it's going to be similar to what happened to another Brazilian, Amanda, last weekend, where when the dog fight happened, she gassed out and got finished. Now, I'm not calling for Angela Hill to do the same type of finish. I actually do have some Angela Hill TKO round 2 and TKO round 3 in separate bets. I have half a unit on both of those. The odds are insane. I got third round TKO is plus 3,000, and second round TKO is plus 2,500. Both, I believe, lines are available on BetOnline right now. I think those are insane lines. I mean, the way I see Amanda Lemos losing is by getting stopped in the later rounds. In the early goings, yeah, she's got an A+ physicality. She's very accurate. She's got very powerful strikes, but her powerful strikes actually are an asset to her in the first round, but actually a liability if we go to the second and third, because she uses so much energy. You can see even in Mizuki fight, she was gassing out. It's just that she was able to get a takedown in the second round at the key moment. She won that round. Third round, I thought she lost, even though the judges gave it 30-27. I thought it was 29-28 on my scorecard. But either way, Mizuki is not Angela Hill. Angela Hill is going to bring the dogfight. Like you were saying that, yeah, she might make mistakes in the clinch and get taken down. That is a live possibility. And maybe if I had access to plus 1,100 on Lemos by submission, I would take a stab on that. But unfortunately, BetOnline is giving me a shit line of plus 600, and I don't really, I don't think that's a great line. Where when you have plus 1,400 on Caesars and over plus 1,000 in a few different places. So my verdict on this one is that Angela Hill is going to take a bit of a beating in the first round. She's going to survive. She's going to bring the pressure. She's going to break this girl, whether it's the second or third round, and she's going to finish her. That's what's going to happen.
I think on FanDuel Sportsbook, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, so I might have to double check this, but I believe that when I was in Jersey on FanDuel Sportsbook, they had Angela Hill round 2 or round 3 KO TKO at like plus 1,800 or something like that. And I was like,
damn,
I might have to, just a little Salt Bay on top.
Yeah, Yanni sprinkle.
Yeah, dude, I really think at least when you're looking at trying to cap, where does Angela Hill win this fight? It's just not going to be in the first round. But no. I do think that it's about survival. It's about staying in the fight. Angela Hill, for whatever you want to say, she has been out grappled before. She's not really like just a big quitter. I haven't seen a lot of quit in Angela Hill, even in some tougher fights. I think the Gedalia fight, she was down 2 rounds when she dropped her. And it was a close enough fight, but I just don't think that Angela Hill is going to be like, oh, I lost the first 2 rounds. I might as well pack it up and call it a career. No. I think that she's, a fighter as well at her heart. And so she's going to come out swinging in round 3, and it could just be one of those sloppy fights. I thought ends inside the distance at like plus 130. It's not something I'm in love with, but I do see a finishing path for both these ladies. I think it's plus 130.
Well, even under 2.5 is plus 190. I mean, I think that's very interesting. It would be pretty terrible if it was like late third round finish, but like
that's what I'm afraid of there too, especially in this kind of style dynamic. Most of the time you think, what are the chances it'll be in the last 2.5 minutes? But with somebody who's like a known gasser, that's when I go, I'm taking ITD.
Yeah, for sure. And when you were saying and talking about the the people who are bringing up cardio issues, I think the fight that they're talking is Michelle Watterson fight, right? But if you look into that fight, Angela Hill just came off a split decision loss to Claudia Gadelha. I thought she won the Claudia Gadelha fight, personally.
I
But
agree.
so she was pissed off and she was like, "Hey, I want to finish this girl fucking in the first 2 rounds." And she came out like she only had like 2 rounds to fight. And Michelle Watterson, she is super, crafty and very smart. And she was able to get takedowns and just kind of pull away late. This is completely different style of matchup here. Amanda Lemos is going to be the one winning the first round, most likely. And yeah, like I said, the more damage she lands in the first, the more energy she uses, the better it is for us, because Angela, I doubt that she's going to get finished by TKO. I don't think so. If it happens, I think it's going to be a sub. But yeah, so I really do like your shot at plus 310. I think, right? Is that the number you got, right? You're definitely going to have the closing value on that. I don't think we're going to see plus 300 again. So yeah, good work on your part. I wish I would have taped this earlier. I just kind of glanced over. I'm like, yeah, Amanda Lemos is going to win. And I'm like, man, let me look into this more. And, now it's completely different opinion. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. And violence is going to happen in this one. I'd really
Dude,
do.
and you know what's interesting is like odds makers open this up at like minus 225.
Mm.
So, it's not like the odds makers are the ones that put Lemos well out in front here. I think that the odds makers probably anticipated they were going to get, a lot of Lemos action. So they opened it up, gave themselves a little bit of leeway, and now we're seeing some of that buyback come in as the fight gets closer.
And think about it, like this is a classic example of a fighter who's coming off back-to-back first-round stoppages. She looks incredible, right? She looks like she can beat anybody. And we had the same fighter is known to have cardio issues, right? So you have a fighter who pretty much wins in round one, and then if it goes beyond round one, she does not justify that price. She just won't justify that price. So we have a classic example of market overreaction here because she has highlight reel finishes, and Angela Hill has been kind of disappointing recently. So, but she is a veteran. She has, a lot more tools, I think, down the stretch, and I think I won't be surprised at all if she wins this Saturday.
Me either, my man. I'm hopeful that somebody wins by submission. If it's Amanda Lemos, that's great. But if it's my girl, Angie Hill, that would just be all the more sweet. We'll cash the money line. We'll cash that fight ends by sub at plus 950.
You'll
that
break
would be
my heart,
absolutely glorious.
If she gets up in second or third round instead of KO, that's going to break my
Oh, you're so right. All right, let's just get a finish. Let's get somebody to get a finish here. I'm also on the fight ends inside the distance. So that's something that we could all root for. But I think another great fight on this slate, man. I think of Sunset Simone, that it is what it is, but I think really the fight below that, Diego Ferreira and Mateusz Gamrat, that's a fight for me that's really compelling. I've heard a lot of people taking the dog shot on CDF, and I can respect that. Like, he's a great fighter. I've taken shots on CDF myself, but he's come up short for me a few times, and I feel like, it was like time to shit or get off the pot for him, in a couple of his more recent fights, and came up short. And now he's, getting no favors done for him here. He kind of got dealt from the bottom of the barrel here. Somebody that nobody wants to sign to fight right now, I would think, in this lightweight division. Mateusz Gamrat, one of the top prospects coming out of ATT, got an absolute murderer's core of teammates around him. In the wrestling and the grappling and the striking. So you could only assume he's getting better in between every fight. We've seen him get better over the course of his UFC career. From what I heard, he had injuries heading into the fight that he lost. I thought it looked clear that he was underprepared for that fight with Guram Kutateladze. So I think that, this is a fight where Gamrot's going to come in with a good game plan. I think that Carlos Diego is a dangerous fighter, but a fighter that has been figured out now a few times. You've got to be willing and able to get to a dogfight and to survive that. But I think that we've got the right guy in Mateusz Gamrat to do that here. So Haven't played anything on this fight yet, except for the fight doesn't go the distance. Small, it's at plus money. I just think that there is a path on both sides here. Carlos Diego is a effing phenomenal grappler. There's no two ways about that. When he's fresh, he can definitely submit anybody. He can also positionally TKO people. He puts them in really bad spots. His jiu-jitsu is dangerous. He's the only guy I've ever seen put somebody in a hammer lock and just punch the shit out of them. Until they were knocked out in the Jared Gordon fight. Granted, he kicked him in the nuts a few times before that too, but he is like a fighter. He's not afraid to mix it up. He's not afraid to hurt people. CDF is a dangerous fellow. I just think Gamrat is too, and I think he's probably the smarter fighter. I think he's got a little bit better put together game. I think he's coming from a better camp here. Respect to Fortis MMA, a lot of good fighters from there, a lot of a lot of talented guys, a lot of UFC products from their gym. I just think that, they might be out coached and out physical this weekend. I think Mateusz Gamrat, I know he was a 45er. I think he looks a lot better at 55 in terms of his dynamism. I think he looks filled out now. I think he looks good physically. And I thought that Jeremy Stephens fight, was it a gimme? Sure. Who else dispatches Jeremy Stephens like that? Just made short work of him. And I thought that was an impressive win, honestly. So I think Mateusz Gamrat would be my pick this weekend. I really like him, but I haven't locked it in yet. I kind of am waiting to see what happens with this line because, like I mentioned, a lot of love that I've seen from people in the space on the CDF side. I get it at this plus number especially, but I think I'm going to ride with Gamrat here. How do you feel about this one, Notorious?
Yeah, honestly, I had to rewatch Gamrat's fight with Guram to get the appreciation for him again because when I saw his debut, I wasn't really impressed. But then looking back at it, I think Kutaladze is really fucking good fighter. I think that guy is probably, gonna eventually be somewhere in the top 20 of the division, even though obviously 155 is a very stacked division, but I think he has promise. But Gamrat, what I like about the guy is his ability to make you think about the possibilities that he presents to you because the guy can switch stances. He can, attack from both southpaw and orthodox. And, he constantly moves, right? I think Diego, I don't know, you got frozen out. Are you still here? Did we lose you? Oh, well, I'll just keep going. So the thing about Diego, I think he is dangerous, right? But I think most of that danger comes early. And I think Gamrat, the first round, who knows what's going to happen. It might be a pretty close round, but we might even get a pretty nice number on Gamrat after round one. It could be like a pick 'em if Diego looks pretty good in the first. So I do expect that the longer the fight goes, it definitely favors Gamrat. I think Gamrat is a 5-round fighter. He kind of figured out his approach to dealing with Guram towards the end of the fight. In the beginning he was struggling, but Guram, man, like those kicks to the body, man, those nasty. He just throws so much heat, and he looks so physical too. Diego, he got that quit in him. We've seen it, right? If the going gets tough, the guy gasses, and then there is no path to victory anymore. So the first round, Gamrat has to stay very sharp and avoid early danger that could present itself, just like it happened with Gregor Gillespie. Man, he had to survive some heat in the first, right? But then afterwards, he just took over. And this could be a similar situation. So the bet that I would be interested in is Gamrat round 3 or decision. I know Bovada is going to have that line either tomorrow or Saturday. So if that number is enticing to me, I might play that. For now, I don't have any plays on it, but I definitely lean Gamrat's way.
I'm right there with you. And just want to mention, because I don't always bring this up, it depends on the matchup for me, whether or not there's something I'm interested in targeting on PrizePicks from a DFS stat projection perspective. But one of the ones that stood out to me when I was just looking over the slate is 50.5 significant strikes projected for Mateusz Gamrat. I think he's probably going to go over that here. I think that for the most part, he's going to be able to shut down the wrestling and grappling from CDF. And so they're probably going to engage in a striking battle for the most part. And I think Gamrot's going to throw enough volume out to hit that significant strike total. But that's just one of the things that stood out to me when I was looking at this fight. I think that, Gamrat, I think he's the better striker as long as he's able to keep CDF off of him early. CDF is pretty good at putting a pace on guys if he's able to establish his rhythm. If he's able to get them moving backwards and working. I think the Tyson fight is like, where he looked the best in the UFC. Also looked really good in the Anthony Pettis fight when he was able to pressure, grapple him. But I think it's going to be a much tougher battle here. What do you think?
Yeah, both those fights. Taisumov, has he fought since? I think the guy is completely washed, retired, right? And Anthony Pettis, I think pretty much everyone knows he's washed too. So that would be my kind of counter to that. And I think plus Gamrat, his footwork, man, is excellent. I really do think so. And the way he just presents different possibilities is gonna make Diego hesitant. And the more hesitant you are, like even if you're sparring with someone, like if you're sparring someone who's very good, and you're tense, you're gonna get tired more. That's how it goes. And especially in the fight, man, the adrenaline is going, everything is going. So I think that Diego gassing out, midway through round 2 is a very live possibility here. That's why I really like that Gamrat round 3 or decision, because if we get to round 3, man, I don't see how CDF is winning that. So yeah, I think we're both on the same side here, and I think for the right reasons.
Hey, rock and roll, my man. Let's hope that it turns out that way. I think Daz made a good point that CDF always has a path to victory with the back of the head strikes, kicks to the nuts, cage grabs. He will look for any advantage he can get. And, I will just say it's not sportsmanlike. It's not what we want to encourage. It's not what we would root for our friends and our teammates to aspire to. But when you're betting on somebody in a fight, it's not a bad thing if they're a little bit willing to bend a rule here or there. As far as I'm concerned, I view that as like a slight edge. MMA refs don't really enforce the rules of the sport. So it's like, if my guy's not cheating, he's not trying as hard as he could be. And I always want to think about that when I'm going into these fights. But I'm just playing. I think that this is a good fight on either side. And I think we should be in for a treat early. I do think it was an impressive performance against Gregor. But I thought that, like you mentioned, man, just Gregor was able to show him the door with heart, cardio, and just stick-to-itiveness. And I think that Gamrat, if he minds his P's and Q's, he could do the same here and follow that game plan to victory. And now I think that we have an underdog play that we both share on this card. If I'm not mistaken, in one of the prelim bouts, I will be backing an underdog in the featherweight class. Does this sound familiar to you, Notorious?
Featherweight. Oh, Andre Ewell? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir. I think Andre is a decent spot here.
I am interested. In that fight. I think Jourdain, look at all his fights in the UFC, even the ones he's won. There's not like a wipeout. The dude is always in close fights, man. If he doesn't lose him, he gets dropped. Like he got dropped by what's his name? Kulibao, right? That's his name, Josh Kulibao. He got dropped by him. Got hurt by Doo Ho Choi. Obviously he was able to find a finish there. But like, I'm not super impressed by Charles Jourdain. I know he's flashy. I know he's, he's awesome to watch. Don't get me wrong. But as a gambler, man, I don't think he should be, that big of a favorite in this matchup. And I do think that Andre moving up to 145 is actually a good move. I think it's going to help his durability. I think it might help his cardio as well because, the playbook on beating Andre is, hey, the guy starts up really hot, but if you can put the pressure on him, if you can kick his leg like Gutierrez did, eventually the guy breaks, right? And, but the guys that did that, look at Chito Vera. Like Chito Vera, that's his playbook, right? He just takes damage in the first and comes back and he wins, right? Jourdain is not really that kind of a fighter, you know. The guy does not put like that relentless pressure on people. He likes to be in that kicking range, right? He's okay with that. And I mean, he does throw leg kicks here and there, you know, like so that is a possibility there, but he's not a committed leg kicker like Chris Gutierrez is. So plus he is there to be hit. I think Andre might be the faster guy here. I think he's got the reach advantage, right? If I'm not mistaken. Um, so
Big, like 6 inches, I think.
yeah, that's huge because his hands are nasty. You know, his offense. I've always liked his offense. It's his defense and cardio that's where the issues are. But I do think he's live here, man. I do think that he might even hurt him bad and put him away in the first round. Like I wouldn't be surprised. What is Andre Ewell in the first round? By the way, I didn't look at that. I just kind of freestyling on the spot.
I love it. I love it. Let me take a look. I am on Best Fight Odds right now, and it looks like the best price you can get on Ewell round 1 is plus 900. Although, unfortunately, they're hip to it. Our friends at Bet Online holding that plus 700 line
The Bet Online is always worse than others.
Dude, it's because they're sharp, man. They're sharp. So anytime you think to yourself, hey, that would probably be a good number, you got to remember they did too. And
right.
That's sometimes how I compare. You know, is there going to be value on this prop? I'll look. Is Bet Online holding the same thing? If they are, maybe there's not value. But if Bet Online's holding something $3, $4 shorter, you're like, maybe there's something here. Also, though, I think Bet Online does keep a little bit smaller of that win portfolio on some of the wider props because they have higher limits. Whereas some of the other companies with lower limits, they're more willing to throw out, you know, a big plus number.
I just wish Minnesota had DraftKings or FanDuel, man. I can't bet that here, you know, or Caesars. So the only thing I can do is Bovada, Bet Online, and those type of books, and their numbers are way sharper. But yeah, I mean, maybe fight doesn't go to distance could be a good look in this fight too. You know, I haven't betted. I do think that getting anything above plus 150 on Andre is a good bet, especially if you got him early at like 180. I mean, some books still have 180. BetMGM still, actually that dropped to 160. But yeah, still, I mean, anything above, you know, plus 150, even plus 150, I think that's a fair bet. I think he's gonna come out and that might be his best weight class here. So I haven't bet it yet. I want to see him on the scales tomorrow, and you know, me being a degenerate, I'm pretty much. On the fight day, I bet pretty much every single fight, you know, drinking and whatnot, you know, live betting, who knows. So yeah.
What else are we doing? Well, I'm going to be watching the fights all night. What else am I going to do? Put down 5, 10,
exactly.
20, you know, keep it interesting, right?
It is the last card of the year, so you have to be extra degenerate. Like, what?
Of course.
Fuck, you know? So yeah. That's my read. I do like your shot on Andre Ewell. I would love to hear more of your reasoning on it. So yeah, let's hear it.
Absolutely, man. And so I did lock in the plus 180 as well on the Ewell side. And for me, it's pretty simple, right? I think that this is a recency bias type of spot where Andre Ewell, you know, he's fought pretty tough guys in the UFC, broadly speaking. You know, the loss to Chris Gutierrez, okay, that's a tough one, but Chris is a pretty good fighter, like just outside top 15. Julio Arce, you know, just outside the top 15 type talent. You look Erwin Rivera, he gets the win there. Okay, not the best level UFC guy. I'll grant that. Jonathan Martinez wins a split decision. So that's another high level fight. You know, I'm not sure he should have got the decision. Still out there competing against the best guys. Marlon Vera, he loses that fight. That's a tough fight. That's a fight that Sean O'Malley, you know, everybody's savior, lost that fight. It's like Anderson Dos Santos gets a win over him. I think he washed out of the UFC and came back. So it's like this guy, Nathaniel Wood, loses to him, beats Henan Barao by split decision. I think the reason people don't want to get behind this guy is because all his UFC wins are close. You know, close split decision type victories don't really inspire confidence. But I also think when you look at this guy, Andre Ewell, fighting tough competition, then you look at what he's got in front of him now. Charles Jourdain, I think it was plus 365. It was cool about, and I ended up getting a push in that spot. He's lucky I got the push
I had
there.
as well. I had him too.
And dude, it was a great bet, and it was an obvious bet in my opinion because Charles is just not going to justify those prices based on his style of fighting. He's reckless.
I mean, let's be honest. He could have gotten knocked out by Doo Ho Choi. That was close. He almost got knocked out in the first round. Rojo was very live in that fight. So Jourdain could be winless in the UFC. If you think about it, if some things go against him in those fights, he could be winless. Well, he'd probably be cut by now if that was the case. But I mean, he's a fun fighter. But just like you're saying, I mean, if people want to shit on Andre's wins, well, let's look at Jourdain's. Like, even though those were KOs, like, look into the fight. He was very close to being stopped himself. So, to me, that shows that the guy should not be a big favorite. I think this should be a closer line. And I think you have a tremendous value once again on this one as well.
Thank you, brother. Let us hope for the best. I think that this is a winnable fight for Andre. You mentioned it. Let's see how he looks on the scale. If we can get the right number and he looks great on the scale, maybe I add to the bet a little bit. I got just over 1 unit right now on Andre Ewell at plus 180, and I like that number. But I'm not altogether opposed to. I think looking at this fight ends by KO, TKO, also not a bad look. I like what you were saying in terms of the inside the distance. If it was a significant difference, I would look at the KO line. But I do think Jourdain has some path to a submission here. Ewell's been subbed in the past, but I do think, I heard a couple people make note of that. Smart guys I respect. But then I look back and I'm like, all right, yeah, that's true. But it was patchy mix. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
and granted some other guys too, but like, yeah, getting submitted by patchy mix is just like, that's just going to happen to people. It's
Right.
That for me is like a strength of Ewell's, is that he fought even on the regional scene, a pretty stiff level of competition. So Let's hope our boy Andre can turn things around up a division. I don't think he's completely aged out of the sport. He's like 32 here.
No.
So I think that he's still got a chance. And this is probably a better look for him. I think, given the reach advantage he had over everybody at 35, it's like, I think he was cutting a lot of weight.
Like, compare him moving up a weight class to Matt Sales moving up a weight class, right? Matt Sales, I don't think he was a big featherweight, right? Moving up to lightweight. I think he was just a guy who was a fat featherweight. He just did not like to cut weight. Whereas Andre Ewell, like, he was dying to make 135. I mean, I've heard some interviews where he said that, yeah, he had a really hard time cutting down. So, I think moving up is going to help his durability, might help his cardio as well. So, we might get the best version of him in this matchup. And since I was mentioning Matt Sales, maybe we can jump into that matchup.
Dude, I was exactly going to say that. I would love it. If you're more than welcome to get us started, brother. What do you think about Matt Sales taking on Jordan Levitt in the opening fight of the night?
Yeah, so pre-tape, I was looking at it. I'm like, well, we have pick'em odds, and I can fade Jordan Levitt at pick'em. I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then I went into taping, and I'm like, dude, this Matt Sales guy, I do not like his game at all in this matchup, because there are a few things that I really dislike about the guy. And I'm not even going to talk about the Bryce Mitchell matchup, right? Because Bryce Mitchell performance was about as bad as you can get, right? He gets taken down 10, 15 seconds in and just gets absolutely dominated and submitted by a twister, which is only the second one ever, right? After the Korean Zombie one. But even if you look at the Kyle Nelson fight, right? The Kyle Nelson fight was very alarming to me, because he starts off, really good in the first round. He even hurts Kyle Nelson. And then he decides to follow him up on the ground. And then he gets tangled in like leg lock position, where Kyle Nelson, it didn't look like he knew what he was doing in that situation. But that alone, A, showed me that, hey, he gave him time to recover. B, he is an idiot because he allows guys to grab his leg in the situation when the guy's hurt, right? Imagine if Jordan Levitt is the one grabbing his leg and going for leg locks in the same situation, right? It might be a completely different outcome there, right? Obviously, Kyle Nelson did not get a submission in that situation. Matt Sales wins the round. Second round, he lets Kyle Nelson back into the fight. He gives up a takedown. Then he tries to get up, gives up his back. Another huge red flag. If you're getting up and you give up your back. Then he almost gets submitted. Doesn't, but still loses the round because he can't escape a bad position, right? Then you go to the third round. They both look pretty gassed. We know Kyle Nelson is, a gasser. He's a known gasser. He's done it multiple times in fights, right? And it was up for grabs, that fight, right? So what happens is Kyle Nelson shoots a terrible takedown. Matt Sales is able to hip in, get on top, and then get an arm triangle and win. But that fight showed me that the guy is has a bad fight IQ, B has absolutely terrible get ups when he's taken down. He gives up his back. There's so many red flags. And if you switch
It's
to
also Kyle Nelson. That's the
right,
other problem.
that's what I'm saying. Because Jordan Levitt, one thing, yeah, you can say, yeah, you look at the guy, he looks like he's not even a fighter, right? He doesn't have the physicality. He looks like, a nerd or whatever, right? He's a weird guy. But that guy, for everything you want to say about his appearance, he is a smart guy. He knows exactly how he wins the fight, and he gets to those ranges. If you're on the feet, he's in the kicking range. He's not like actively getting in the boxing range, tries to engage in punches. He waits for you to commit, then he can grab your single leg and get a takedown. That's a smart fighter right there, right? He, in all of his fights, even the last one against Claudio Puelles, he won the first round. He got multiple takedowns, but Claudio Puelles, he's a good grappler. He is a very good grappler, as we saw in Chris Grutzmacher fight, where I lost my ticket on Grutzmacher because I bet him live, and I was like, fuck. I was like, dude, you were going to win this fight for me, and then you get leg locked. I was like, God
I bet
damn.
him pre-fight and felt stupid, so no worries, my man.
Man, I really felt good about that live ticket. Oh, well. But, yeah, so Claudio Puelles, very good grappler, also has physicality edge. He visibly looked like a bigger guy versus Jordan Levitt, right? I think here, Matt Sales and Jordan Levitt, they're going to pretty much equal out, right? Because I don't think that Jordan Levitt is a big lightweight. I think he could fight at 145. I think he's done it in the past. Matt Sales is a featherweight as well. So I think the physicality edge is not going to be there for either guy. So then we look at technique. And technique-wise, Matt Sales, like I said, he has terrible ground game. Terrible. Compared to Claudio Puelles, who can counter wrestle. He made Jordan Levitt work every single time he got taken down. He was working to get up. He was scrambling, right? He was doing everything to make Jordan Levitt tire out. And then at the end of the first round, you watch Jordan Levitt, he's walking to his corner and he's gassed, man. Like, he's tired as shit. Well, Matt Sales does not make anyone work when he gets taken down, man. You can pretty much take this guy down and just control him, man. Like, that's what Bryce Mitchell did. That's what Kyle Nelson did. Like, he didn't do shit. Like, once he gives up a position, you pretty much win a round, or you might.
Did you see the George Hickman fight from the regionals as well?
I have not seen that one, but
dude, well, no worries. It only bolsters your case because like George Hickman, I believe, is like the striking coach for Tiger Muay Thai. There's like 10 striking coaches for Tiger Muay Thai because I've heard it just through the UFC grapevine, like 3 different guys claim that title. But I think Hickman now is like the striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai or one of the head coaches over there. And he beat him, Matt Sales, that is. But it wasn't like, this striking fight where he just picks him apart tit for tat or something. He actually took him down and almost submitted him, had like, I don't know, 45 seconds of like locked in rear naked choke attempts that he couldn't finish. And so that made me think, Levitt probably going to have an opportunity to take the back and finish here. It's a very short price on Levitt by sub, which is what, got me off of betting this, laying the money line at like minus 125. I could see it because I could also see Levitt winning this fight by decision. But I could see him getting knocked out, if I'm being honest. Like, I think that Levitt, this is like a binary fight. If he's getting on top, he should be able to like pretty easily control the fight. If his wrestling is not able to get him on top and he starts to gas out like he did in his last fight, he is fucked. Because like Matt Sales, for all of his faults and his problems on the ground, which are real, he does have pretty good power, especially for the division. And like the fights that he's not like taken down and controlled, he knocks people out. So I think that Levitt, who's kind of got like goofy striking, could definitely get knocked out here. And that's why I would just caution you a little bit, Raw. I see where your head's at and what you're saying, definitely a live possibility. But I'm actually thinking that the fight doesn't go is live here because both guys have a path to finish. Like if Levitt's not getting takedowns, not to say he's been like flatlined or something in the past, just if he's not engaged in a grappling fight, Sales is dangerous, especially at a heavier weight, I would think.
You see, one thing that I would like, I don't disagree that he could get a knockout here, because yeah, if it does stay on the feet for extended period of time, like he's gonna be the guy landing better shots, and he might really hurt Levitt. The one thing about Sales that adds to him being an idiot is that his inability to keep it in the range that he needs to be in. He needs to be in the kick into boxing range. Well, the dude ends up tangling and grappling, though, where he doesn't need to be. That's the problem.
He shot on Hickman and got taken down and his back taken. Like it was a completely baffling turn of events. He was doing well on the feet with the guy who's like known for being a striker, shoots a takedown and gets reversed with like a pretty simple switch.
It's like it reminds me of the matchup of Jamal Emmers and Pat Sabatini, where you know that Jamal Emmers has a clear striking advantage, and what happens? He ends up in a 50-50 on the ground. He's going for a fucking, what was it, ankle? No, was it a ankle line?
Toe hold.
While his knees getting ripped apart. Like, what are you doing, dude? So that's what I'm saying. Like, if the guy is stupid and he's gonna end up in the situations where he shouldn't be, and that's what I think is gonna happen in this fight. That's why I'm like, I can't play over 2.5. I can't play. It might happen, but like, I have no confidence in Sales making the right decisions here. And, I would be taking Levitt. I think I'm going to play him either in the parlay. I might make some, crazy parlay since it's the end of the year, and why not? So he might end up being in like a multiple parlays for me, just money line, because I think he opened at -220. So if you think about it, bookies might have had a right idea in this one, and now it's like -125. So if, and I see a big edge here in terms of fight IQ, in terms of ability to be in the range he wants to be. So I really do think that Levitt is going to find a way to win this one. So I might play that.
Dude, and also, sometimes I try and put myself in the matchmaker's position, right? And I'm like, why is this fight put together? What do they want to have happen here? Because the UFC doesn't always put together fights and go, whatever. They're like trying to game plan. What do we want to have happen in these divisions, broadly speaking? Who do we want to see advance or test where they're at? I don't think that guy is Sales based on the UFC run he's had so far, right? So Jordan Levitt, they put him in there with a guy like Claudio Puelles, which is to do what? Weed out who's the real grappler that we need to go with as like our next grappling guy in the division. Yeah. Okay, it's Claudio Puelles for now, but it was a close fight. It's a fight where at least he showed he knows where he needs to be. He needs to be in the grappling ranges and phases of the fight. Now he knows I need to improve there as well. I'm not going to bulldoze through everybody in the UFC in this range and in this phase. I wish he had more to offer on the feet. That would like really get me passionate about playing this. But I do think that as long as he fights to his strengths here, the UFC set up this matchup so he can look good. And I think that he's probably going to take the back and submit the guy in the first round. But that being said, I said that about Andre Muniz last week. Thankfully, it's what happened. I was fully reticent of the fact that if that didn't happen, it becomes a much more dicey fight. And that is what it looks like here to me. I think Levitt is going to have a very clear path to win this fight early. And if his control grappling is flowing from the beginning, it's a wrap. Like he could just take this guy down. Right. That would be awesome. But if he doesn't have that kind of control from the beginning, that's for me when the fight gets a little bit scarier. And when the fight doesn't go the distance, becomes like ultra live at a, it's like a pretty reasonable price, I think. And if you don't feel committed to picking a side, but you're like me and think both guys have a path to finish, maybe that's a way of, taking a little bit of guesswork off the table and just saying, get after the violence, boys. Somebody figure it out.
Yeah, I can see that angle as well. Speaking of the violence, what do you think about Dontel Mays and Josh Parisian?
Dude, if I could tell you the truth, probably my least invested fight on the card from an analysis standpoint. I don't like either of these guys like long term for the division. I don't know who's got upside here. Dontel Mays is like the darling of the week, and I think he should win the fight. if he fights to his strengths. The problem is I don't have much reason to believe he's going to do that. Parisian is like, somebody I don't want to invest in because he's like a reckless fighter, puts himself in constant danger, but he also has a brick for a head. And I do like to recognize when people have bricks for heads. I don't know how long that could last at heavyweight. It's a dangerous game he's playing, but who's going to land more volume if this goes 15 minutes? It's like, I do find it hard to imagine that's not Parisian. So that's why for me, it's like a sketchy-ish fight. And one that, I'm not going to try and Nostradamus this one personally, because I am bad at picking heavyweight fights. Broadly speaking, I'm like okay at it. And then this one especially, the low levels are when I have no clue. That's when I'm like F all use to anybody. Yeah. It's when it's like a competitive matchup between skilled fighters. I have a decent chance, I think. I mean, this one I'm like, I don't know what the hell to expect.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I mean, when I first, was browsing the odds and I'm like, Dontel Mays minus 200, like what the fuck? Like, I don't know if I can back him at that number against anyone. And then I looked at Josh Parisian. I'm like, Jesus Christ, this guy is fucking horrendous. Like, this guy has no defense. Like, his defense is his chin. Like, just let me take as many shots as you can throw at me and see if I can keep going. So I think the best play for this fight is fight doesn't go to distance. I know that the recency bias is going to say that, hey, these guys are going to decisions. Both of these guys went to decision against Roque Martinez. Roque Martinez is like a mini Mark Hunt, man. He's like the guy just fucking takes whatever you throw.
Talk about a brick for a head, dude. Talk about a brick for a head.
The shots that Dontel Mays landed on Roque Martinez is going to put down like 90+% of people in the UFC. I'm telling you, because like there were clean strikes, whether it was a flying knee or straight right hand. He would look very impressive. The issue of Dontel Mays is always the same issue. That is, if it gets into the later rounds, he looks like he wants to, find a way out. And that's not the guy that, I want to invest money on at minus 200. However, my official prediction is going to be that Dontel Mays will get it done in the first round. I do think that Josh Parisian, you're saying that he has a break for a head. I've seen him wobble. It's just that Roque Martinez wobbled him, pretty badly in the third round. He landed like 3 or 4 punches. But instead of landing more shots, he decided to clinch up and waste time in the clinch, which was a bizarre decision because then he got turned around and Parisian just leaned on him for 2 minutes and won the fight, even though I thought he lost the decision, but they gave him to him. Against Parker Porter, there were multiple opportunities for a finish. It also did not materialize. But if you look at his resume before that, a lot of his fights end up inside the distance, whether he gets a finish or he gets finished. And the same goes for Dontel Mays. So we have both heavyweights, right, who's coming off decisions who are historically don't go to decision. So now I think there's a market overcorrection, and minus 155 on the fight doesn't go to distance at heavyweight. I can't really say why I wouldn't pull the trigger on that, like given all the facts that I just given. So I took a 2.5 unit shot on that. Minus 155, I think it was one of my first bets on the card. And I do like it. I don't really want to pick a side. Like I said, I do think that Dontel Mays is the better fighter, especially early. He's got the speed advantage, footwork advantage. He's just a much better athlete, just many more tools on the feet and better defense too. Josh Parisian, honestly, he just fucking sucks. But, he's in the UFC. We got to respect the guy. Obviously he made it to this level. But I don't think he's going to stick around much longer. And I think Dontel Mays is going to finish him. But if not, I think Josh Parisian could be live to find a finish in the second or third himself. So if I doesn't go the distance is my pick here. And I do like it.
Dude, I love that bet. And can I just tell you, looking over the board right now, like I mentioned, this wasn't a fight that really jumped out to me as like, Liam, dig in deeper. So I kind of like skimmed over some of these lines and then just moved on. But now I'm looking at seeing Josh Parisian to win inside the distance is plus 400. And
Dude,
I don't know
much.
anything else except that that's stupid. That makes no sense because when you look at Dontel Mays, he's been finished on the ground by strikes. He's been finished on the ground by a pretty laughable fallback straight ankle lock, to be fair. And like I say that with all due respect. Cyril Gahn was like, I guess I'm done now. And just like sits back in slow motion with it. I was like, all right, the guy can't grapple. And then you see it happened more than once. Rodrigo Nascimento, guys, he's not good. He's no. Again, he's an okay, like we say this with all due respect, he beat the shit out of me, but I'm saying like by heavyweight UFC standards, Rodrigo Nascimento is not good. And I think that was not a loss that's going to age well. Josh Parisian, if
I think we lost you. You froze.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I was saying that Josh Parisian by submission, it doesn't seem like the most out of bounds play to me here. Like Dontel Mays, when he gets tired, plus 950.
Oof.
Plus 950. And not to say I'd get involved. I'd probably play the inside the distance at that point. But I just think that we have a guy who has shown like no grappling prowess against somebody who Parisian's not like a good ground player, but he's shown some core competencies. Like he's gotten into mount and not gotten bucked off and finished somebody. And I think that Dontel Mays, like, if he's underneath Parisian, we think he's going to hit a hip escape, guys. He's going to turn and give his back, and
he's going to do the Black Beast. Just fucking get up. No, he won't.
He won't. Hey, he might try it, dude. He could do it once, I bet. The question is, what happens there? Oh no! Rock Torque says this is Walker Santos heavyweight style.
Hey, we don't like that energy. We already had we already had too many fight goes a distance with that shit.
Exactly. We need some Yanni prescribed regression to the mean. Let's get every fight ending inside. I see like at least half this card ending inside the distance, man. I do.
I see a lot of violence. I also see a lot of live dogs. Like, I really do. And Parisian.
Oh my God, dude. I fumbled the bag. Macy is down to plus 154, dude. It was plus 165 10 minutes ago.
I'll just say right off the bat, I don't usually hit openers, and most of the times I'm not on my phone when they drop. I do have notifications for Best Fight Odds on Twitter, so those odds when dropped, and I saw plus 250 on Macy, I'm like, what in the fuck? And so I had to put 1.6 units on that. I think plus 250 in a women's fight, like in a fight where there isn't like a clear like a dominant like way for the girl to win, because I think Rocky is good pretty much everywhere. Like she's good on the feet, she's good in the clinch, she can get takedowns, but she's not a world beater in any single area. She's
fine.
Like she's fine, right?
Yeah.
She's got the experience edge. I would say she probably has the cardio edge. Maybe potentially. She's been to 5 rounds before, but like. In terms of like the skill, like how is this gonna play out? I think that Macy, she's gonna give her trouble. Like I do think that Macy is pretty live on the feet. I think in the kicking range, Macy is a better fighter. I really do think so. I think Macy has more variety of kicks. In the boxing range, I will give a slight lean to Rocky. I think her boxing is good. In the clinch is gonna be an interesting area. I think both of them can have success in the clinch. Rocky is good in there. Both of them can get takedowns on each other. I mean, I've seen Macy get takedowns. Rocky is good at, sealing rounds with takedowns as well. I just don't understand why she opened at minus 300 and Macy was plus 250. Obviously the market is reflecting my thoughts because when I was thinking about it before the odds dropped, in my mind, Macy should have been anywhere between like plus 130 to plus 150. I thought that was fair, just given Rocky's experience edge. But when you see plus 250, like you don't have to do the tape, man. You see that number and you have the read on both fighters, which I do because we've seen them so many times. Like you just go and fire. So right now at plus 150, would I get involved? Not necessarily. Um, but at the same time, Macy might have the physicality edge. And when I bet on dogs, I like to bet on dogs that have the physical advantages. And whenever you can get a dog that is more physical, that is usually not a bad bet to take. So from that standpoint, I like it as well. I see that as a pretty close fight. I was kind of thinking maybe fight doesn't go to distance could be sneaky because both of them, have some, especially Macy. Macy definitely has the finishing upside. She was a finisher to start off her career. And I mean, she hurt Marion Renault pretty badly. And I think Rocky hurt her as well. But Marion Renault is pretty tough, until her last fight against Misha Tate, her retirement fight. Good luck finishing Marion Renault, right? So it could be sneaky if I doesn't go to distance. I didn't take it because I got such a good number of Macy, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. So what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, man, this is a fight where, I'm probably going to end up passing given the fact that I missed so much of the line movement already. But I think that it's a sharp angle to have gotten in on Macy at the big plus number. Raquel Pennington is basically like a decision based fighter. So, like, she has all of her win equity or most of her win equity in every fight wrapped up in the decision. So, I think if you're going to play her, you often should just play her by decision, get slight plus money, and call it a day. That being said, when you look at this matchup, I think that the fact that it's at 45 does not play to her benefit. That plays to her detriment. I think that Macy's a little bit bigger.
Wait, is it
I
at
think
45?
It's at 45. Yes,
Oh
sir.
shit! I did not know that. That's very big, actually.
Yeah, it's good for you, brother. I was
Oh,
gonna say at
definitely.
the opener, I think that was part of the factor is like Macy's gonna have to emaciate herself, funny enough, get down to weight, and I think that in this kind of climate, she is definitely the bigger 145er by frame, by the fact that she has experience in the division in her career. So I think that a lot of advantages for Macy Chiasson here. And on top of that, when I see Raquel Pennington winning this fight, she's going to be clinching actively and trying to win the clinch battle against the fence. That's like a Raquel Pennington special. It's just going to be harder to do against somebody who's bigger, taller, has leverage, has a half decent clinch game of her own. So I do expect a very close fight here. And you really hit the nail on the head, man. The finishing equity is on one side. It's the dog. And so I like Macy's ability to keep it close optically if it goes to decision. I think that she's a pretty mean girl in the cage. Like I think she could do a little bit of damage. And Rocky has been getting close wins in her recent fights, but I would argue that she's been a little bit checked out.
I think
I
she
haven't seen
lost.
the same intensity.
I,
She looks good on her Instagram or preparation. Like I'm not going to knock her for any of that. Just in the cage itself, I feel like there used to be a little bit more, a little bit more of an edge to her. I feel like now she's just like a little bit calmer, sweeter person.
Yeah. One thing to add to that, last 3 wins that she has, right? She at least lost a round in all 3 of those fights. She lost a round against Penny. She lost a round against Marion Renault. And I thought she lost to Irene Aldana. I think that split decision should have gone the other way, but it didn't. Ever since she lost to Amanda Nunes, maybe you're onto something. Once she lost to Amanda Nunes, she kind of doesn't look as tenacious as she used to be, So maybe once she realized that, hey, maybe I'll never be the champion, maybe, she's just kind of like a gatekeeper and she had accepted it. And that the fact that it's a 145, man, like that makes me actually super happy because like Macy is definitely the bigger girl. She has the reach advantage here. She has the youth advantage. She is the one that is actually improving fight to fight. You can see improvements from this girl because when she won the Ultimate Fighter, man, she didn't win because she was the most like skilled fighter. She could just outbully those girls. Like she beat Penny because she could just literally she walks through fire, lands her own shots, gets the bag, gets the sub. But now she's actually much better defensively, and she's always been good offensively. And look out for her body kicks and knees. I think that could be the key to maybe hurting Rocky in this fight and potentially getting a stoppage. So I wouldn't be surprised if it went that way. So
I love it. I love it. And I'm actually just going to outright predict that Macy gets the win here. I do think that, she's got a little bit more life left in the division. I think that Rocky's probably on her way out. And especially given that it's at 145 in her wheelhouse, I'm going to go ahead and pick the dog out right here. No action on the fight as of yet, but stay tuned in case I end up changing my mind there. Maybe to fade the narrative, a tiny poke, a quarter unit on Chiasson inside the distance and call it a day there. Like you said, I think that that's not a bad poke.
I think Macy could be what people thought Megan Anderson was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see it. A big, strong girl who has some actual ability to do damage. I
That's what I'm
like it.
saying. Like she has that mean streak to her, man. I love seeing that. Like Aspen led that kind of a different style completely, but in terms of that meanness, like she's gonna come and bring the fight. She wants to finish you. I love it, and she's a bigger girl. Why not? Let's ride.
Let's do it. So I think that we basically killed it, my man. I think we did a pretty thorough breakdown here. Talked about a lot of the fights that we like, talked about some betting opportunities for the people, talked about some of the more interesting, compelling style matchups here. And I think that we broke down a lot of the great action that we're looking forward to. In terms of the prize picks plays that I want to give out on the way out here, folks, that's what I was pulling up before, just to make sure I had myself in order. But a couple things that I like as potential shots on prize picks this weekend. Number one, Jake Paul over on Fight Time. I know I'm a little outside the box here with that one, but I just saw that they posted those up. Last time I bet on that fight goes to decision, Jake Paul and Tyra Woodley. I bet on both those guys to win by decision last time.
It was
And
crazy odds,
they
wasn't it?
paid out at handsome odds. Yes. Yeah. I think both of them were above plus 400. Woodley was like plus 800 or something like this, and he loses the split. I'm in the arena in Cleveland like, holy shit. I thought I was about to get rich. I was like, what the fuck? But it ended up being a profitable one for me last time. So hopeful I can make some more cheddar on that, and I like that line. In terms of what I like for the UFC, I think that Matt Sales is projected 12 and a half minutes fight time. I think you could go under on that if you feel like I feel, and there might be some violence there. Jordan Levitt projected 1.5 takedowns. I think he can easily get over that here if he doesn't get the early sub. So if you are a decision backer, maybe you go with the over on takedowns. If you're like me and you think that Levitt gets the sub pretty early on, then maybe you take the under on fight time on the sales position. And then last up for me, Hani Barcelos. I don't know whether he's going to win or lose. I think he's probably a deserving favorite, but I do think he's probably going to be able to get 1.5 plus takedowns on Victor Henry in this fight. Henry can be a little bit loose in his entries. I've seen him taken down by lesser foes. Hani Barcelos comes from a high-level Brazilian wrestling background. In addition to his jiu-jitsu skills, I think his clinch game is there as well. So I would not be stunned to see Hani Barcelos end up with 1.5 or more takedowns over the weekend.
I like that.
Just my man. If Notorious is on board, that's all the better.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I like it is Henry is pretty wild on the feet, so I think Barcelos can just switch it up on him and just get some control. I do like it. That fight is a sleeper. I think Henry guy can bring some fire to the fight, so I wouldn't be necessarily parlaying Barcelos money line, but I'm definitely gonna enjoy that fight a lot.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I think that one's going to be an absolute banger, but the price is just a little prohibitive for me on the Barcelos side. Thought that he could have won the fight last time and didn't do enough. He's also a little bit older for the division. So I would not rush to the window on either side here. You got a UFC debutant on the other side. That's not been a plus EV play over the last calendar year either. But I do think that this is, a kind of slip on a banana peel type fight where, Victor Henry might be the guy who doesn't know he's in there to lose. I think that this is a guy who's going to come in there guns blazing. So should be good fun.
I think before we leave, you have any picks for tonight's NFL? Just
goodness out there, dude. I actually don't know. I was not even looking at the slate for today. I did very well on Sunday, so I was like, you know what? I should keep the good omen rolling. I should not touch the NFL plays until next Sunday rolls around again.
I like your idea. I think I'm taking Chargers +3.
Hey,
personally.
there you go, brother. I love myself some Justin Herbert.
Dude, he's my quarterback for fantasy, so let's go. And I'm in the playoffs, and I need him. I need him really
Yes,
bad.
sir. I hope he comes up aces for you tonight, my
It's a
brother.
good game tonight. So yeah, I mean, we got done right in time to go and enjoy some great football. And yeah,
Absolutely.
tomorrow weigh-ins and Saturday should be a banger of a card. A lot of violence. And last thing I'm gonna say is I predict 5 or more dogs to win this weekend.
I love it. And I'll do this as my bold prediction. Let me take 8 or more fights to end inside the distance. Yep.
I love it.
I think this is a violent UFC awaiting us. So
Let's
knock
go.
on wood that we get the violence. Knock on wood, I didn't curse it.
Knock on
but
wood
I
that
think
the COVID doesn't take any fights from us too.
oh my God. Knock on wood that they let us do the event on Saturday
Right.
at this rate. I remember freaking the Adesanya and Romero fight went off, and then the world shut down like
Dude,
4 days later.
How crazy was that? I was in Vegas at that card, and that was the last live event until was it Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson, right? Oh no, that wasn't even the one. That was like way later. But yeah, so let's enjoy violence this Saturday and cash tickets and finish the year strong. You know, I got some work to do to finish in the green, and I think I can do it.
I love it. I'm expecting it from you. I know that you're a very sharp guy, and it's always a pleasure getting to break down these fights with you, my man.
Thanks for
The
having me,
people
brother.
can find you at Notorious_picks on Twitter. If there's any other place that they can find you or anything else you want to get off your chest, now's a great time, my man.
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter if you like, and you can always hit me in the DMs. I love talking about a variety of stuff, whatever you guys want to. And yeah, I'm very happy to be on the show. I love seeing your success, and let's keep it momentum going into the next year. Finish this one strong, and hope all of your listeners catch their tickets as well. And yeah, let's enjoy violence.
Absolutely, my brother. And all I've got for you guys on the way out here is a very sincere thank you to everybody who watches my content. It really means a lot to me. Everybody who comments below, everybody who gets subscribed to the channel, the people who like the video, I appreciate everything that you do to support me. It means a lot. In addition, if you guys want to support me, easiest way to do that, go ahead and get signed up with my sponsor, PrizePicks. It only takes $20 at minimum. They will match you 100% if you use my promo code Liam, and that's up to $100. So if you deposit 100, you're playing with 200. If you deposit 10 or 20 or whatever, they're going to match you 100%. So easy way to support me. All the information's in that description box below. But like Notorious said, we hope that you cash all your bets this weekend. We wish you the very best of luck. God bless you all. Enjoy those fights. And until next time, this has been another great episode of Liam Picks Fights. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, brother.